In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Appendix 1. One of the great miracles. Surah 74, verse 35. The Quran is characterized by a unique phenomenon never found in any human-authored book. Every element of the Quran is mathematically composed. The surahs, the verses, the words, the number of certain letters, the number of words from the same root, the number and variety of divine names, the unique spelling of certain words, the absence or deliberate alteration of certain letters within certain words, and many other elements of the Quran besides its content. There are two major facts of the Quran's mathematical system. 1. The mathematical literary composition, and 2. The mathematical structure involving the numbers of surahs and verses. Because of this comprehensive mathematical coding, the slightest distortion of the Quran's text or physical arrangement is immediately exposed. Simple to understand, impossible to imitate. For the first time in history, we have a scripture with built-in proof of divine authorship, a superhuman mathematical composition. Any reader of this book can easily verify the Quran's mathematical miracle. The word God, Allah, is written in bold capital letters throughout the text. The cumulative frequency of occurrence of the word God is noted at the bottom of each page in the left-hand corner. The number in the right-hand corner is the cumulative total of the numbers for verses containing the word God. The last page of the text, page 372, shows that the total occurrence of the word God is 2,698, or 19 times 142. The total sum of verse numbers for all verses containing the word God is 118,123, also a multiple of 19. 118,123 equals 19 times 6,217. 19 is the common denominator throughout the Quran's mathematical system. This phenomenon alone suffices as incontrovertible proof that the Quran is God's message to the world. No human being could have kept track of 2,698 occurrences of the word God, and the numbers of verses where they occur. This is especially impossible in view of 1. The age of ignorance during which the Quran was revealed, and 2. The fact that the surahs and verses were widely separated in time and place of revelation. The chronological order of revelation was vastly different from the final format. Appendix 23. However, the Quran's mathematical system is not limited to the word God. It is extremely vast, extremely intricate, and totally comprehensive. The simple facts. Like the Quran itself, the Quran's mathematical coding ranges from the very simple to the very complex. The simple facts are those observations that can be ascertained without using any tools. The complex facts require the assistance of a calculator or a computer. The following facts do not require any tools to be verified, but please remember they all refer to the original Arabic text. 1. The first verse, Surah 1, verse 1, known as Bismillah, consists of 19 letters. 2. The Quran consists of 114 surahs, which is 19 times 6. 3. The total number of verses in the Quran is 6,346, or 19 times 334. 6,234 numbered verses and 112 unnumbered verses, Basmillahs. 6,234 plus 112 equals 6,346. Note that 6 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 equals 19. 4. The Basmallah occurs 114 times. Despite its conspicuous absence from Surah 9, it occurs twice in Surah 27, and 114 equals 19 times 6. 5. From the missing Basmallah of Surah 9 to the extra Bismillah of Surah 27, there are precisely 19 surahs. 6. It follows that the total of the surah numbers from 9 to 27, 9 plus 10 plus 11, so on up to 27, is 342, or 19 times 18. 7. This total, 342, also equals the number of words between the two Basmallahs of Surah 27 and 342 equals 19 times 18. 8. The famous first revelation, Surah 96, verse 1 to 5, consists of 19 words. 9. This 19-worded first revelation consists of 76 letters, 19 times 4. 10. Surah 96, first in the chronological sequence, consists of 19 verses. 11. This first chronological surah is placed atop the last 19 surahs. 12. Surah 96 consists of 304 Arabic letters, and 304 equals 19 times 16. 13. The last revelation, Surah 110, consists of 19 words. 14. The first verse of the last revelation, Surah 110, verse 1, consists of 19 letters. 15. 14 different Arabic letters form 14 different sets of Quranic initials, such as Alif, Lam, Mim of Surah 2, verse 1, and prefix 29 surahs. These numbers add up to 14 plus 14 plus 29 equals 57, which equals 19 times 3. 16. The total of the 29 surah numbers where the Quranic initials occur is 2 plus 3 plus 7, so on up to 68 equals 822. And 822 plus 14, 14 sets of initials, equals 836, or 19 times 44. 17. Between the first initial surah, Surah 2, and the last initial surah, Surah 68, there are 38 uninitialed surahs, 19 times 2. 18. Between the first and last initialed surah, there are 19 sets of alternating initialed and uninitialed surahs. 19. The Quran mentions 30 different numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 19, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 99, 100, 200, 300, 1000, 2000, 3000, 5000, 50,000, and 100,000. The sum of these numbers is 162,146, which equals 19 times 8,534. This is a condensed summary of the simple facts. The literary mathematical composition. The Quran is characterized by a unique phenomenon never found in any other book. 29 surahs are prefixed with 14 different sets of Quranic initials, consisting of 1 to 5 letters per set. 14 letters, half the Arabic alphabet, participate in these initials. The significance of the Quranic initials remained a divinely guarded secret for 14 centuries. The Quran states in Surah 10, verse 20, and Surah 25, verse 4 to 6, that its miracle, in other words, proof of divine authorship, was destined to remain secret for a specific predetermined interim. They said, "Why hasn't a miracle come down to him from his Lord?" Say, "Only God knows the future. Therefore, wait, and I will wait along with you." Those who disbelieved said, "This is no more than a fabrication by him, with the help of other people." Indeed, they uttered a blasphemy, a falsehood. Others said, "Tales from the past that he wrote down. They were dictated to him day and night." Say, "This was sent down from the one who knows the secret in the heavens and the earth. Surely he is forgiving, most merciful." The Quranic initials constitute a major portion of the Quran's 19-based mathematical miracle. The table shows the list of the Quranic initials and their surahs, with the surah number, surah title, and their respective Quranic initials. Table 1. List of the Quranic initials and their surahs. Historical background. In 1968, I realized that the existing English translations of the Quran did not present the truthful message of God's final testament. For example, the two most popular translators, Yusuf Ali and Marmaduke Pickthall, could not overcome their corrupted religious traditions when it came to the Quran's great criterion in Surah 39, verse 45. When God alone is mentioned, the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter shrink with aversion, but when others are mentioned beside him, they rejoice. Yusuf Ali omitted the crucial word "alone" from his translation and altered the rest of the verse by inserting the word "gods." Thus, he utterly destroyed the most important Quranic criterion. He translated Surah 39, verse 45 as follows: "When God, the one and only, is mentioned, the hearts of those who believe not in the hereafter are filled with disgust and horror. But when gods other than He are mentioned, behold, they are filled with joy." According to A. Yusuf Ali. The expression "when God, the one and only, is mentioned" is not the same as saying "when God alone is mentioned." One can mention God, the one and only, and also mention Muhammad or Jesus, and no one will be upset. But if God alone is mentioned, you cannot mention anyone else, and a lot of people, those who idolize Muhammad or Jesus, will be upset. Thus, Yusuf Ali could not bring himself to present the truth of the Quran if it exposed his corrupted belief. Marmaduke Pickthall translated "alone" correctly, but destroyed the criterion by inserting his personal belief in parentheses. He translated Surah 39, verse 45 as follows: "And when Allah alone is mentioned, the hearts of those who believe not in the hereafter are repelled. And when those whom they worship beside him are mentioned, behold, they are glad." According to Marmaduke Pickthall. When I saw the truth of God's word thus distorted, I decided to translate the Quran, at least for the benefit of my own children. Since I was a chemist by profession, and despite my extensive religious background, my father was a renowned Sufi leader in Egypt. I vowed to God that I would not move from one verse to the next unless I fully understood it. I purchased all the available books of Quranic translations and exegeses, tafsir, I could find, placed them on a large table, and began my translation. The first surah, the key, was completed in a few days. The first verse in Surah 2 is Alif, Lam, Mim. The translation of this verse took 4 years and coincided with the divine unveiling of the secret, the great mathematical miracle of the Quran. The books of Quranic exegeses unanimously agreed that no one knows the meaning or significance of the Quranic initials Alif, Lam, Mim, or any other initials. I decided to write the Quran into the computer, analyze the whole text, and see if there were any mathematical correlations among these Quranic initials. I used a timeshare terminal connected by telephone to a giant computer. To test my hypothesis, I decided to look at the single-lettered Quranic initials Q, Qaf, of Surah 42 and 50, S, Sad, of Surahs 7, 19, and 38, and N, Nun, of Surah 68. As detailed in my first book, Miracle of the Quran, Significance of the Mysterious Alphabets, Islamic Productions, 1973. Many previous attempts to unravel the mystery had failed. The Quranic initial Q, Qaf. The computer data showed that the text of the only Qaf, Q initialed surahs 42 and 50 contained the same number of Qafs, 57 and 57. That was the first hint that a deliberate mathematical system might exist in the Quran. Surah 50 is entitled Qaf, prefixed with Qaf, and the first verse reads Qaf, and the glorious Quran. This indicated that Qaf stands for Quran, and the total number of Qafs in the 2 Qaf initial surahs represents the Quran's 114 surahs. 57 plus 57 equals 114, which equals 19 times 6. This idea was strengthened by the fact that the Quran occurs in the Quran 57 times. The Quran is described in Surah Qaf as Majid, glorious, and the Arabic word Majid has a geometrical value of 57. M of 40 plus J of 3 plus I of 10 plus D of 4 equals 57. Surah 42 consists of 53 verses, and 42 plus 53 equals 95 equals 19 times 5. Surah 50 consists of 45 verses, and 50 plus 45 equals 95, same total as in Surah 42. By counting the letter Kaf in every verse 19 throughout the Quran, the total count comes to 76. 19 times 4. Here is a summary of the Kaf-related data. 1. The frequency of occurrence of Kaf in Surah Kaf, number 50, is 57, 19 times 3. 2. The letter Kaf occurs in the other Kaf initialed Surah, number 42, exactly the same number of times, 57. 3. The total occurrence of the letter Kaf in the 2 Kaf initialed surahs is 114, which equals the number of surahs in the Quran. 4. The Quran is mentioned in the Quran 57 times. 5. The description of the Quran as Majid, glorious, is correlated with the frequency of occurrence of the letter Qaf in each of the Qaf initial surahs. The word Majid has a geometrical value of 57. 6. Surah 42 consists of 53 verses, and 42 plus 53 is 95, or 19 times 5. 7. Surah 50 consists of 45 verses, and 50 plus 45 is also 95, 19 times 5. 8. The number of kafs in all verses numbered 19 throughout the Quran is 76, 19 times 4. Glimpses of the Quran's mathematical composition began to emerge. For example, it was observed that the people who disbelieved in Lot are mentioned in Surah 50, verse 13, and occur in the Quran 13 times. Consistently, they are referred to as Qaum, with the single exception of the Q initial Surah 50, where they are referred to as Ikhwan. Obviously, if the regular Qaf containing word Qaum were used, the count of the letter Qaf in Surah 50 would have become 58, and this whole phenomenon would have disappeared. With the recognized absolute accuracy of mathematics, the alteration of a single letter destroys the system. Another relevant example is the reference to Mecca in Surah 3, verse 96, as Bekka. This strange spelling of the renowned city has puzzled Islamic scholars for many centuries. Although Mecca is mentioned in the Quran properly spelled in Surah 48, verse 24, the letter M is substituted with a B in Surah 3, verse 96. It turns out that Surah 3 is an M initial surah, and the count of the letter M would have deviated from the Quran's code if Mecca was spelled correctly in Surah 3, verse 96.
Noon. Noon. This initial is unique. It occurs in one surah, 68, and the name of the letter is spelled out as 3 letters Noon, Waw, Noon in the original text, and is therefore counted as 2 N's. The total count of this letter in the N initialed surah is 133, 19 times 7. The fact that N is the last Quranic initial, see Table 1, brings out a number of special observations. For example, the number of verses from the first Quranic initial, Alif, Lam, Mim, of Surah 2, verse 1, to the last initial, Noon, of Surah 68, verse 1, is 5,263, or 19 times 277. The word God, Allah, occurs 2,641, 19 times 139 times between the first initial and the last initial. Since the total occurrence of the word God is 2,698, it follows that its occurrence outside the initials Alif, Lam, Mim of Surah 2, verse 1 on one side, and the initial Noon of Surah 68, verse 1 on the other side, is 57, 19 times 3. Tables 9 to 20 prove that the initial Noon must be spelled out to show 2 N's. S. Saad. This table shows the frequency of occurrence of the letter S in the Saad initial surahs. Table 2. The frequency of occurrence of the letter S in the Saad initialed surahs. This initial prefixes 3 surahs, 7, 19, and 38, and the total frequency of occurrence of the letter S, Saad, in these 3 surahs is 152, 19 times 8. It is noteworthy that in Surah 7, verse 69, the word Bastatan is written in some printings with a Sad instead of seen. This is an erroneous distortion that violates the Quran's code. By looking at the oldest available copy of the Quran, the Tashkent copy, it was found that the word bastatan is correctly written with a sin. Historical note: the momentous discovery that 19 is the Quran's common denominator became a reality in January 1974, coinciding with Zul Hijjah 1393 AH. The Quran was revealed in 13 BH, before Hijrah. This makes the number of years from the revelation of the Quran to the revelation of its miracle 1393 plus 13 equals 1406 equals 19 times 74. As noted above, the unveiling of the miracle took place in January 1974. The correlation between 19 times 74 lunar years and 1974 solar years could not escape notice. This is especially uncanny in view of the fact that 19 is mentioned in Surah 74. YS Yasin. These two letters prefix Surah 36. The letter Y, Ya, occurs in this surah 237 times, while the letter S, Sin, occurs 48 times. The total of both letters is 285, 19 times 15. It is noteworthy that the letter Y, Ya, is written in the Quran in two forms. One is obvious and the other is subtle. The subtle form of the letter may be confusing to those who are not thoroughly familiar with the Arabic language. A good example is the word Arani, which is mentioned twice in Surah 12, verse 36. The letter Y, Ya, is used twice in this word. The first Y, Ya, is subtle, and the second is obvious. Surah 36 does not contain a single Y, Ya, of the subtle type. This is a remarkable phenomenon, and one that does not normally occur in a long surah like Surah 36. In my book, Quran, Visual Presentation of the Miracle, Islamic Productions, 1982, every Y, Ya, and S, Sin, in Surah 36 is marked with a star. H, M, Ha, Mim. The table shows the occurrence of the letters H, Ha, and M, Mim, in the 7 Ha, Mim initial surahs. 7 surahs are prefixed with the letters H, Ha, and M, Mim, surahs 40 through 46. The total occurrence of these two letters in the 7 Ha Mim initial surahs is 2147, or 19 times 113. The detailed data are shown in this table. Naturally, the alteration of a single letter H, Ha, or M, Mim, in any of the 7 Ha Mim initial surahs would have destroyed the intricate phenomenon. ASQ, Ain, Sin, Qaf. These initials constitute verse 2 of Surah 42, and the total occurrence of these letters in this surah is 209, or 19 times 11. The letter A, Ain, occurs 98 times, the letter S, Sin, occurs 54 times, and the letter Q, Qaf, occurs 57 times. Editorial addition to Appendix 1, HM Initial Surahs, a Great Miracle Within the Miracle. Table shows the Ha and Mim initial surahs, which is a great miracle within the miracle. Table depicts
the frequency of Ha and Mim from chapter 40 to 46. The numbers in yellow are the frequencies of Ha and Mim from chapter 40 to 42. The sum of these frequencies adds up to 19 times 59. The numbers in green are the frequencies of Ha and Mim from chapter 43 to 46. The sum of these frequencies adds up to 19 times 54. The numbers in red are the sum of the numbers of frequencies of Ha and Mim from chapter 41 to 43. The sum of these frequencies adds up to 19 times 55. The numbers in gray are the sum of the numbers of frequencies of Ha and Mim of the numbers in 44, 45, and 46. The sum of these frequencies adds up to 19 times 58. Numbers in yellow add up to 19 times 59, and the sum of the digits for these numbers is also 59. Numbers in green add up to 19 times 54, and the sum of the digits for these numbers is also 54. Numbers in red add up to 19 times 55, and the sum of the digits for these numbers is also 55. Numbers in gray add up to 19 times 58, and the sum of the digits for these numbers is also 58. This table shows the total sum of the digits of yellow numbers is 59. Then, the sum of frequencies of Ha and Mim comes to a total of 1121, which is 19 times 59. This table shows the total sum of the digits of green numbers is 54. Then the sum of frequencies of Ha and Mim comes to a total of 1026, which is 19 times 54. This table shows the total sum of the digits of red numbers is 55. Then the sum of the numbers of the frequencies of Ha and Mim comes to a total of 1045, which is 19 times 55. This table shows the total sum of the digits of grey numbers is 58. Then the sum of the numbers of the frequencies of Ha and Mim comes to a total of 1102, which is 19 times 58. This table shows the total sum of digits of all the frequencies of Ha and Mim from chapter 40 to 46 is 113. Then the sum of the numbers of all the frequencies of Ha and Mim comes to a total of 2147, which is 19 times 113. A, L, M, Aleph, Lam, Mim. This table shows the occurrence of the letters A, L, and M in the Aleph, Lam, Mim initial surahs. Table 4. Occurrence of the letters A, L, and M in the ALM initial surahs. Frequency of occurrence. The letters A, L, and M are the most frequently used letters in the Arabic language, and in the same order as we see in the Quranic initials, A, then L, then M. These letters prefix 6 surahs, 2, 3, 29, 30, 31, and 32, and the total occurrence of the 3 letters in each of the 6 surahs is a multiple of 19. 9,899, or 19 times 52. 5,662, 19 times 298. 1,672, 19 times 88. 1,254, 19
times 66, 817, 19 times 43, and 570, 90 times 30, respectively. Thus, the total occurrence of the three letters in the 6 surahs is 19,874, 19 times 1046, and the alteration of one of these letters destroys this phenomenon. A, L, R, Alif, Lam, Ra. Table 5. Occurrence of the letters A, L, and R in the ALR initialed surahs. This table shows the occurrence of the letters A, L, and R in the Alif, Lam, Ra initialed surahs. These initials are found in surahs 10, 11, 12, 14, and 15. The total occurrences of these letters in these surahs are 2,489, 19 times 131. 2,489, 19 times 131. 2,375, 19 times 125. 1,197, 19 times 63, and 912, 19 times 48, respectively. ALMR, Alif, Lam, Mim, Ra. These initials prefix one surah, number 13, and the total frequency of occurrence of the 4 letters is 1,482, or 19 times 78. The letter A, Alif, occurs 605 times. L, Lam, occurs 480 times. M, Mim, occurs 260 times. And R, Ra, occurs 137 times. ALMS, Alif, Lam, Mim, Sad. Only one surah is prefixed with these initials, Surah 7, and the letter A, Alif, occurs in this surah 2,529 times. L, Lam, occurs 1,530 times. M, Mim, occurs 1,164 times. And S, Sad, occurs 97 times. Thus, the total occurrence of the 4 letters in this surah is 2,529 plus 1,530 plus 1,164 plus 97 equals 5,320, which is 19 times 280. An important observation here is the interlocking relationship involving the letter S, Sad. This initial occurs also in surahs 19 and 38, while complementing its sister letters in surah 7 to give a total that is divisible by 19. The frequency of this letter also complements its sister letters in surahs 19 and 38 to give a multiple of 19. Additionally, the Quranic initial S, Sad, interacts with the Quranic initials K, H, Y, A, Qaf, Ha, Ya, Ain. In Surah 19 to give another total that is also a multiple of 19. This interlocking relationship, which is not unique to the initial S, Sad, contributes to the intricacy of the Quran's numerical code. K, H, Y, A, S, Qaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. This is the longest set of initials consisting of 5 letters, and it occurs in one surah, Surah 19. The letter K, Qaf, in Surah 19 occurs 137 times. H, Ha, occurs 175 times. Y, Ya occurs 343 times. Ain occurs 117 times, and Sad occurs 26 times. Thus, the total occurrence of the 5 letters is 137 plus 175 plus 343 plus 117 plus 26 equals 798, which is 19 times 42. H, T, H. Ta, ha. T, S. Ta, sin. And T, S, M. Ta, sin, mim. An intricate interlocking relationship links these overlapping Quranic initials to produce a total that is also a multiple of 19. The initial H, Ha, is found in surahs 19 and 20. The initials TH, Ta, Ha, prefix surah 20. The initials TS, Ta, Sin, are found in surah 27, while the initials TSM, Ta, Sin, Mim, prefix its surrounding surahs 26 and 28. The table shows the occurrence of the Quranic initials H, T, H, Ta, Ha, T, S, Ta, Sin, and TSM, Ta, Sin, Mim. The total frequency occurrence of the Quranic initials in the 5 surahs is 1767, or 19 times 93. It should be noted at this time that the longer, more complex interlocking and overlapping initials are found in the surahs where uncommonly powerful miracles are narrated. For example, the virgin birth of Jesus is given in Surah 19, which is prefixed with the longest set of initials Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad, K, H, Y, A, S. The interlocking initials H, Ha, T, H, Ta, Ha, T, S, Ta, Sin, and TSM, Ta, Sin, Mim, prefix surahs describing the miracles of Moses, Jesus, and the uncommon occurrences surrounding Solomon and his jinns. God thus provides stronger evidence to support stronger miracles. What is a geometrical value? When the Quran was revealed 14 centuries ago, the numbers known today did not exist. A universal system was used where the letters of the Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek alphabets were used as numerals. The number assigned to each letter is its geometrical value. The numerical values of the Arabic alphabet are shown in the table. Alif 1, Ba 2, Jim 3, Dal 4, Ha 5, Waw 6, Zay 7, Ha 8, Ta 9, Ya 10, Qaf 20, Lam 30, Mim 40, Noon 50, Sin 60, Ain 70, Fa 80, Sad 90, Qaf 100, Ra 200, Shin 300, Ta 400, Tha 500, Kha 600, Dhal 700, Dad 800, Za 900, Ghain 1000. Other mathematical properties of the initial surahs. The table shows the 14 letters used in forming Quranic initials. 14 Arabic letters, half the Arabic alphabet, participate in the formation of 14 different sets of Quranic initials. By adding the geometrical value of each one of these letters plus the number of surahs which are prefixed with 29 Quranic initials, we obtain a total of 722, or 19 times 19 times 2. Additionally, if we add the total geometrical value of all 14 initials plus the number of the first surah where the initial occurs, we get a grand total of 988, 19 times 52. If we add the number of occurrences of each of the 14 letters listed in the table as an initial, plus the numbers of the surahs where it occurs as an initial, the grand total comes to 2033, 19 times 107. Mathematically structured distribution of the Quranic initials. Table 9. Mathematically structured distribution of the Quranic initials. Table 10. Total geometrical values of all frequency of Quranic initials in their surahs. This table presents the total frequency of Quranic initials plus the total geometrical value of these letters in the whole surah. The grand total for all initialed surahs is 1,089,479. This number, in excess of 1 million, is a multiple of 19. 1,089,479 equals 19 times 57,341. The slightest alteration or distortion destroys the system. Note: the total geometrical value of the Quranic initials in a given surah equals the geometrical value of each initial multiplied by the frequency of occurrence of that initial in the surah. Major parameters of the Quranic initials, surahs, verses, frequency, first surah and last surah. This table shows that the sum of numbers of surahs and verses where the Quranic initials are found, plus the initials' frequency of occurrence in that surah, plus the number of the first surah where the initials occur, plus the number of the last surah where the initials occur, produces a total that equals 44,232, or 19 times 2,348. Thus, the distribution of the Quranic initials in the initial surahs is so intricate that their counts and their placement within surahs are intertwined to give a grand total that is a multiple of 19. It is noteworthy that the initial n must be counted as 2 n's. This reflects the fact that the original Quranic text spells out this initial with 2 n's. Table A. Parameters of the 14 individual Quranic initials. A special mathematical coding authenticates the number of verses where the Quranic initials themselves are found. As detailed in Table A, all Quranic initials occur in verse 1, except in Surah 42, initials in verses 1 and 2. This fact is supported by the remarkable mathematical phenomenon detailed in the Table B. If we multiply the first 2 columns of the Table B instead of adding, we still end up with a total that is divisible by 19. See Table C. Obviously, it is crucial to have 2 different initialed verses in Surah 42 in order to conform with the Quran's mathematical code. The fact that verse 1 of Surah 42 consists of the 2 Quranic initials H, M, Ha, Mim, and the second verse consists of the 3 initials A, S, Q, Ain, Sin, Qaf, has perplexed Muslim scholars and Orientalists for 14 centuries. Table B. 12. Mathematical coding of the number of verses with initials. By the end of this appendix, the reader will see that every element of the Quran is mathematically authenticated. The elements we are dealing with now are the number of Quranic initials in each initial surah and the number of verses that contain Quranic initials. Tables A through C have dealt with these two elements. Additional mathematical authentication is shown in tables D and E. In table D, we have the numbers of all initial surahs added to the number of verses in each surah, plus the number of verses containing initials, plus the geometrical values of those initials. The grand total is 7,030, or 19 times 370. Table C, 13. Multiplying the first two columns of Table 12 instead of adding. Table D, 14. Mathematical properties of the initialed surahs. Remarkably, if we multiply the first two columns of Table D instead of adding them, we still get a grand total that is divisible by 19. Table E, 15. Multiplying the first two columns of Table 14 instead of adding them. The number of verses per surah and the numbers assigned to each verse are among the basic elements of the Quran. Not only are these elements authenticated mathematically, but both initialed and uninitialed surahs are independently coded. Since we are now dealing with the initialed surahs, Table F presents the numbers assigned to these surahs, added to the numbers of verses in each surah, plus the sum of verse numbers 1 plus 2 plus 3, so on up to n. The grand total is 190,133, or 19 times 10,007. By adding the number of every surah to the number of the next surah and accumulating the sums of surah numbers as we continue this process to the end of the Quran, we will have a value that corresponds to each surah. Thus, Surah 1 will have a corresponding value of 1. Surah 2 will have a value of 1 plus 2 equals 3. Surah 3 will have a value of 3 plus 3 equals 6. Surah 4 will have a value of 6 plus 4, and so on to the end of the Quran. The total values for the initialed and then the uninitialed surahs are independently divisible by 19. The values for the initialed surahs are shown in Table G. Table F, 16. Mathematical structuring of the verses of initialed surahs. The values for the uninitialed surahs add up to a total of 237,785, which is also a multiple of 19. 237,785 equals 19 times 12,515. Table G, 17. Values obtained by successive addition of surah numbers. Mathematical coding of special words. The word God, Allah. 1. As shown earlier, the word God occurs in the Quran 2,698 times, 19 times 142. 2. The number of verses where the word God occurs add up to 118,123, also a multiple of 19. 118,123 equals 19 times 6,217. These simple phenomena gave us many difficulties while simply counting the word God. We were a group of workers equipped with computers and all of us college graduates. Yet, we made several errors in counting, calculating, or simply writing the counts of the word God. Those who still claim that Muhammad was the author of the Quran are totally illogical. He never went to college, and he did not have a computer. 3. From the first Quranic initials Alif, Lam, Mim, ALM, Surah 2, verse 1, to the last initial Noon, N, Surah 68, verse 1, there are 2,641. 19 times 139 occurrences of the word God. 4. Table A shows the word God occurs 57 times in the section outside the initials. Table A18, occurrence of the word God outside the initial section. 5. By adding the numbers of the surahs and verses where these 57 occurrences of the word God are found, we get a total of 2,432, or 19 times 128. 6. The word God occurs in 85 surahs. If we add the number of each surah to the number of verses between the first and last occurrences of the word God, both verses inclusive, the grand total comes to 8,170, or 19 times 430. An abbreviated representation of the data is shown in Table B. 7. The Quran's dominant message is that there is only one God. The word one in Arabic, wahid, occurs in the Quran 25 times. 6 of these occurrences refer to other than God, one kind of food, one door, etc. The other 19 occurrences refer to God. These data are found in the classic reference Index to the Words of Quran. Table B19, all surahs in which the word God, Allah, is mentioned. The crucial importance of the word one as the Quran's basic message is manifested in the fact that the Quran's common denominator, 19, happens to be the geometrical value of the word one. These mathematical properties cover all occurrences of the word God. Why 19? As pointed out later in this appendix, all God's scriptures, not only the Quran, were mathematically coded with the number 19. Even the universe at large bears this divine mark. The number 19 can be looked upon as the Almighty Creator's signature on everything He created. See Appendix 38. The number 19 possesses unique mathematical properties beyond the scope of this appendix. For example, 1. It is a prime number. 2. It encompasses the first numeral 1 and the last numeral 9, as if to proclaim God's attribute in Surah 57. Verse 3, as the Alpha and the Omega. 3. It looks the same in all languages of the world. Both components 1 and 9 are the only numerals that look the same in all languages. 4. It possesses many peculiar mathematical properties. For example, 19 is the sum of the first powers of 9 and 10, and the difference between the second powers of 9 and 10. We now understand that the universal coding of God's creations with the number 19 rests in the fact that it is the geometrical value of the word one in all the scriptural languages, Aramaic, Hebrew, and Arabic. The Lord our God is one. Therefore, you shall worship the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Deuteronomy 6, 4-5, Mark 12:29, Quran 2, 163, 17, 22-23. The number 19, therefore, proclaims the first commandment in all the scriptures, that there is only one God.
As shown in the table, the Aramaic, Hebrew, and Arabic alphabets used to double as numerals in accordance with a universally established system. The Hebrew word for one is wahd, pronounced wahad. In Arabic, the word for one is wahid, pronounced wahid, as shown in the table. The word Quran. The word Quran occurs in the Quran 58 times, with one of them in Surah 10 verse 15, referring to another Quran. Table 21. Surahs and verses where Quran occurs. This particular occurrence, therefore, must be excluded. Thus, the frequency of occurrence of this Quran in the Quran is 57, or 19 times 3. Two other grammatical forms of the word Quran occur in 12 verses. These include the word Quranun and the word Quranahu. One of these occurrences in Surah 13, verse 31, refers to another Quran that cause the mountains to crumble. Another occurrence in Surah 41, verse 44, refers to a non-Arabic Quran. These two occurrences, therefore, are excluded. The total of surah numbers plus the total of verse numbers when added, we get a total of 4,408, or 19 times 232. The Quran's first verse, "In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful," known as Bismillah, consists of 19 Arabic letters. Its constituent words occur in the Quran consistently in multiples of 19. The first word, Ism, name, occurs 19 times. The second word, Allah, God, occurs 2,698 times, 19 times 142. The third word, Al-Rahman, most gracious, 57 times, 19 times 3. The fourth word, Al-Rahim, most merciful, 114 times, 19 times 6. Professor Cesar Majul looked at the geometrical value of more than 400 attributes of God and found only 4 names whose geometrical values are multiples of 19. Divine name, geometrical value: 1. Wahid, 1. 19. 2. Zulfadl al-Azim, 1. Of infinite grace, 2,698. 3. Majid, glorious, 57. 4. Jemmi, summoner, 114. As noted above, the only divine names whose geometrical values are divisible by 19 correspond exactly to the frequencies of occurrence of the Bismillah 4 words. The figure below illustrates this remarkable phenomenon. The 4 words of Bismillah are shown on the left side, and the only 4 divine names whose geometrical values are divisible by 19 are on the right side. The numbers in the middle are the frequencies of occurrence of the words of Bismillah, and at the same time the geometrical values of the 4 divine names. The 5 pillars of Islam. Although the Quran provides numerous important commandments governing all aspects of our lives, see for example Surah 17, verse 22 to 38, 5 basic pillars have been traditionally emphasized. They are: Table 22, all surahs and verses from first occurrence of La ilaha illahu to the last occurrence. 1. Shahada, bearing witness that there is no other God besides God. 2. Salat, observing 5 daily contact prayers. 3. Sayyam, fasting during the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, Ramadan. 4. Zakat, giving away 2.5% of one's net income as a charity to specified people. 5. Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca once in a lifetime for those who can afford it. Like everything else in the Quran, these are mathematically structured. As mentioned earlier, the word one that refers to God occurs in the Quran 19 times. The reference to God alone occurs 5 times, and the sum of the surah and verse numbers where we find these 5 occurrences is 361, 19 times 19. The first pillar of Islam is stated in Surah 3, verse 18, as La ilaha illahu, there is no other God besides Him. This most important expression occurs in 19 surahs. The first occurrence is in Surah 2, verse 163, and the last occurrence is in Surah 73, verse 9. This table shows that the total of surah numbers plus the number of verses between the first and last occurrences plus the sum of these verse numbers is 316,502, or 19 times 16,658. Also, by adding the numbers of the 19 surahs where La ilaha illahu occurs, plus the verse numbers where this crucial expression is found, plus the total number of occurrences 29, the grand total comes to 2,128, or 19 times 112. The details are shown in this table. Table 23. List of all occurrences of the crucial phrase La ilaha illahu, there is no other God besides Him. 2. The contact prayers, Salat. The word Salat occurs in the Quran 67 times, and when we add the numbers of surahs and verses of these 67 occurrences, the total comes to 4,674, or 19 times 246. See Index of the Quran. 3. Fasting, Sayyam. The commandment to fast is mentioned in Surah 2, verse 183, 184, 185, 187, 196, Surah 4, verse 92, Surah 5, verse 89, 95, Surah 33, verse 35, 35, and Surah 58, verse 4. The total of these numbers is 1,387, or 19 times 73. It is noteworthy that Surah 33, verse 35, mentions fasting twice, one for the believing men and the other for the believing women. 4. The obligatory charity, Zakat, and 5. Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca. While the first 3 pillars of Islam are obligatory upon all Muslim men and women, the Zakat and Hajj are decreed only for those who can afford them. This explains the interesting mathematical phenomenon associated with Zakat and Hajj. The Zakat charity is mentioned in Surah 2, verse 43, 83, 110, 177, 277, Surah 4, verse 77, 162, Surah 5, verse 12, 55, Surah 7, verse 156, Surah 9, verse 5, 11, 18, 71, Surah 18, verse 81, Surah 19, verse 13, 31, 55, Surah 21, verse 73, Surah 22, verse 41, 78, Surah 23, verse 4, Surah 24, verse 37, 56, Surah 27, verse 3, Surah 30, verse 39, Surah 31, verse 4, Surah 33, verse 33, Surah 41, verse 7, Surah 58, verse 13, Surah 73, verse 20, and Surah 98, verse 5. These numbers add up to 2,395. This total does not quite make it as a multiple of 19. It is up by 1. The Hajj pilgrimage occurs in Surah 2, verse 189, 196, 197, Surah 9, verse 3, and Surah 22, verse 27. These numbers add up to 645, and this total does not quite make it as a multiple of 19. It is down by 1. Thus, Zakat and Hajj together give a total of 2,395 plus 645 equals 3,040, which equals 19 times 160. The Quran's mathematical structure. The Quran's surahs, verses, words, and letters are not only mathematically composed, but also arranged in a superhuman structure that is purely mathematical. In other words, the literary content has nothing to do with such an arrangement. Since the physical construction of the Quran is purely mathematical, it would be expected that the numbers mentioned in the Quran must conform with the Quran's 19-based code. A total of 30 unique numbers are mentioned throughout the Quran, and the sum of all these numbers is 162,146, a multiple of 19. 162,146 equals 19 times 8,534. This table lists all the numbers mentioned in the Quran, without the repetitions. The numbers which are mentioned only once in the Quran are 11, 19, 20, 50, 60, 80, 99, 300, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 50,000, and 100,000. All the numbers mentioned in the Quran with repetitions occur 285 times, and this number is a multiple of 19. 285 equals 19 times 15. The numbers of surahs and verses. The numbering system of the Quran's surahs and verses has been perfectly preserved. Only a few unauthorized and easily detectable printings deviate from the standard system that is divinely guarded. When we add the numbers of all surahs plus the sum of verse numbers, the grand total for the whole Quran comes to 346,199. 19 times 19 times 959. This table is an abbreviated presentation of these data. Thus, the slightest alteration of a single surah or verse would have destroyed this system, as shown previously in the table of mathematical structuring of the verses of initialed surahs. If we consider only the 29 initialed surahs, these same data produce a grand total which is also a multiple of 19. It follows that the data for the uninitialed surahs are also divisible by 19. Table 25. Mathematical coding of the surah and verse numbers. This table is an abbreviated presentation of the same data related to the 85 uninitialed surahs. Now, let us look at another set of miracles involving the surah and verse numbers. As shown in the table, write down the surah number followed by the number of verses in that surah, then the number of every verse, and finally the sum of verse numbers. So, for Surah 1, you would write 1 for the surah, then 7 for the number of verses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for each verse number, and finally 28 for the sum of verse numbers. In other words, 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28. Table 26. Mathematical coding of the 85 uninitialed surahs. The number for Surah 2 will look like this: 2, 286, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 286, 41,041. Do the same for all the 114 surahs, and then add these numbers. The total consists of 759 digits, and is a multiple of 19. Now, write down the total number of verses in a surah, followed by the sum of verse numbers, and keep all numbers justified to the left. Table 27. Surah, total number of verses, verse numbers and sum of verse numbers for every surah. Now write down the total number of verses in a surah, followed by the sum of verse numbers, and keep all numbers justified to the left. For example, the number of verses in Surah 1 is 7, and the sum of verse numbers is 28. Thus, the combined number for Surah 1 will be 7 to 28. For Surah 2, it will be 286 to 41,041. For Surah 3, it will be 200 to 20,100. And so on to Surah 114, for which the combined number is 6 to 21. Remember that these numbers are written all the way to the left, as shown in table. Then add them in the usual manner, from right to left. The total of these left justified numbers is 4,859,309,774, or 19 times 255,753,146. Total is 759 digits and a multiple of 19. Finally, do the same thing as above, continuing to keep all numbers left justified, except write down the number of every verse instead of the total number of verses. For example, the number of Surah 1 consists of its 7 verse numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, combined with the sum of those numbers 28. Thus, the combined number for Surah 1 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28. The combined number for Surah 114 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 21. This table demonstrates this process. The total of all these left justified numbers consists of 757 digits and is still a multiple of 19. Total is 757 digits and a multiple of 19.